thanking our organizers for this event. Yeah, another round of applause because this is amazing. We need this. We need to raise our voices because what is happening is simply unacceptable. And, many speakers have talked about experiences here in the United States. And I just, I can't echo what they've said right now, but because they've already said it so well. I want to start by talking about the experience of reproductive health for an immigrant like myself, and how it was where we come from, and why we fight for what we have here. So when I was in high school, in southwestern Uganda, very rural place, the fear of pregnancy was real for many girls. It was a girls' school in a very rural area with very limited access to modern healthcare. One could wonder why high school students would be concerned about pregnancy, right? Well, at that age, many girls are discovering their womanhood, and many can bear children at that point. There are sometimes no protections from girls this age from sexual predators or even curious male peers. So anyway, my school would randomly, at least once a term, bring nurses and midwives to schools for spontaneous checkups for girls for pregnancy. And there were no test kits for pregnancy in that part of the world at the time. So there were physical tests where they touch your body. But at that point, you can't feel a pregnancy at a certain point. So anyway, the girls who knew that they had been engaged in sexual activity during, the holidays, they were anxious. So what do you think they did? They tried to concoct abortion potions using herbs, teas, anything that their peers had probably told them. Do you know what some of the end results of that was? Sometimes fatal. And I'm only sharing such a story to help us all realize the effects of unsafe abortion. So anyway, thank you. So access to safe abortion is a human right. It saves lives. We must protect it with everything that we have. So, just to share an experience of what being a young girl was in school, this particular school, I don't know whether it was progressive for the time because it supported sex education in school. We had a designated woman, a staff member called a senior woman, who was charged with helping the girls in that age that are transitioning into womanhood to answer their questions about their reproductive hygiene, menstrual hygiene, which is another issue I'm very passionate about because I know what it means for a young girl to not have access to menstrual hygiene products. I have lived it, I have seen it, and I'll fight for it here in Massachusetts that every young girl will have menstrual hygiene products. It is a human right. And it's also helped because I'm a mother to two young girls. So I have to fight for them. If I don't, who will? Anyway, my experience with reproductive health care in the United States, I mentioned earlier, I'm an immigrant from Uganda. So, it was tough to access abortion care in Uganda, even for adults, because of the because of the poor economy. So when I came to the United States, well, I was like, this is gold. It's a land where everyone has everything. It's easy to get right. Anyway, so I had a medical emergency, reproductive health related. And it was a few months after getting here. Now, this is where the immigrant wars come in. So they tossed me around. They said, you don't have health care. I said, yes, we're still working, processing my documentation. But I need this now because it needs to be done. it was I had a very complicated, an abnormal pregnancy. And I was tossed around because of the bureaucracies of healthcare access. We need to stop these bureaucracies and make immigrants access proper healthcare. It is simply not acceptable. So what they did was toss me around to a community healthcare so that, they could help me. And they wanted to get the easier way out and gave me over-the-counter, I think, medication. I don't even know what it was. I bled a whole lot. I thought I was going to die because, again, I didn't have access to the proper way of doing it. And I had to go back again to the same community healthcare because I could not go to a proper hospital. And they did it the legal way, but after a lot of hurt. And guess what came after that? A huge medical bill for a new immigrant who has no job, who is still struggling to settle in. This is not acceptable. This is why I will fight for healthcare access, for reproductive rights. This is why we fight. This is why we're here. We recognize that a woman has a right to access proper healthcare, because we could die. It's not a joke. And there's no man with power should play around with our lives. We are human, right? So, again, my passion was shaped by my work in Uganda. I worked with women who worked every single day to uplift the voice of the social, economic, political rights of women in Uganda. And even in the United States, when I moved here, I worked with domestic violence projects. And even here in Acton, I worked with a group that was supporting women who are experiencing abuse. And why do I mention that? Because there are so many excuses to why anti-abortion rights give. One of them is, it's a moral issue, right? But guess what's morally wrong? To force a woman who has conceived a child from marital rape. It is simply not acceptable. You know what a moral issue is? Forcing women to have children they cannot afford and refusing to provide free child care and call them out for getting government assistance. That is simply not acceptable. You know what is a moral challenge? It is morally wrong to force women to have children and refuse to pass legislation to provide health care for all, leaving women and children without access to proper postpartum care, to infant care, and they cannot afford it on their own. So, it is morally wrong to force women to have children and refuse to provide free education, including college education, for them to keep them from debt. Why am I saying this? This hypocrisy has to stop. We can't call it a moral issue when we are morally, failing to provide for the children that the mothers were not ready for. So, the other issue is reducing access to abortion reduces demand for abortion. Has anyone heard of that one? When we reduce abortion access, we reduce the demand for abortion. I love this one. You know why? We all know that reducing access to abortion does not reduce the demand for sex. Are you with me here? It does not. And it does not also reduce rape. It does, and so pregnancies do not happen by miracle. There is a man involved in some way. So putting the burden on the woman is hypocritical. It needs to end. We need to save our rights as women. Well, I want to just, as I come to the end, I just want to say that motherhood is sacred. I'm a mother of 2 girls. It is powerful. powerful. It is beautiful. And a woman has a right to be ready to start this journey when she feels ready. If pregnancy was not expected or would cause harm, then women should have access to safe abortion. It is a human right again, and it saves lives. Women's rights and freedoms are crucial to our existence, and at the same time delicate if they're not protected. There is a danger in losing the gains we have already made over the years if we do not fight. And I'd like to end with a story with my daughter this week. She surprised me and said, "Mommy, I'm running for student council." And I said, "Woohoo!" And I said, "Student council, where did that come from?" She said, I just want to help my school. And I asked her, I popped further and I said, "What are you going to do? Why do you want to help the school?" And so she said, "I wrote it down." Much of what she wrote, I will just read a little part, it was healthcare related. And just very briefly, I just felt I needed to share this because it is the reason I woke up feeling very energized to fight for her and other women. And I beg your pardon for this. I should have been more ready with it. Take your time. Yeah, we're gonna fight for them. Anyway, she said, "I hope to help the school nurse because I'm one of the people who goes there a lot. And I would also like to raise money for hospitals so the children who are in hospital can get better and get back to school. Even if I don't get elected, I will help the school." Why am I sharing this part of this part? So her inspiring statement reminded me why we need to fight and inspire young girls, because they're watching us. They know that they are seeing, even though they don't say much, they're looking at their mothers. They're looking at their fathers. They're looking at us adults and our actions. So we need to fight for our young girls. We need to inspire them. So we need to fight for women's rights. We